Welcome to In This Season podcast, where we unpack the most empowering conversations, have exclusive and inspirational interviews, and host special events. Join Tammy, some call her Butterfly, and explore life's purpose by learning how to embrace each season of your life with confidence, strength, and purpose. Whether you're blooming in the spring, or shining in the summer, or embracing change in the fall, or gracefully hibernating in the winter, get ready to be inspired. Join us right here on this season of In This Season podcast with your host, the Butterfly. It's time, no matter what season it is.
Good afternoon, good evening, beautiful people. I am absolutely waiting on some people to come in who wanted this show to happen tonight. But if y'all know me by now, I'm going to do what I got to do and I'm going to get on out of here because maybe it just wasn't for them. But this is called the catch-up show. We were not able to air on Saturday due to technical difficulties. So we had some that wanted a catch up. They wanted to make sure we got back on track to do what we've been doing for 200 and let me change this. But matter of fact, you guys, let me take care of some technical things here. There we go. So we are on day 238, I believe it is, with this show, which is the catch-up show. And the title for it is Watch Your Language, which may be a good one because I may have to watch my language if the people who requested this show does not show up for this show, right? But I'm going to do what I got to do. So Daily Motivations for African American Success typically airs every morning at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. But as I mentioned a little bit ago, we were not able to do our show on last Saturday due to technical difficulties. So why do we have it? What is Daily Motivations for African American Success? More importantly, let me say that this title is just that. It is a title. What we do is not about a certain group of people, right? It is taken from the perspective of where we may be due to where we come from and how we have come and where we are going. So, Daily Motivations for African American Success will help you focus on the thoughts, attitudes, and deeds that will lead you to the achievement of your true goals. In 365 short but powerful motivations, one for each day of the year, Dennis Kimbro, who is also the author of the popular Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, leads us to discover how to use the present moment and our own gifts to transcend labels, cultivate a positive attitude, become wise enough to know when to say yes, but also wise enough to know when to say no. Also, when to look inward for answers to life's challenges. Each motivation begins with words of wisdom from such distinguished and celebrated African Americans, such as, but certainly not limited to, Malcolm X, Marion Wright Edelman, Whoopi Goldberg, Charlene Hunter Gout, Bill Cosby, Carl Rowan, and hundreds of others. This treasure trove of practical inspiration will give you a fresh encouragement every day of the year, but what it teaches you will and should last a lifetime. Black Enterprise says that each affirmation in this valuable and thought-provoking book takes only a few minutes to read, but is worthy of more time for contemplation. So you guys make sure that you eat the food that you take away, right? Eat the food that you take away. So I'm going to jump right into it. Our quote, I'll get that out there. Our quote for the day, title, Watch Your Language. Thousands of people can speak at least two languages, English and profanity. That comes from Joe Clark, former high school principal. Joe Clark, right? He says, profanity is a bad habit. It's disappointing to hear anyone use profane language of any kind because we don't know when or if they will stop. For example, a dear old woman wanted a parrot that could talk. She searched, in several shops before finding the right one. The owner told her, however, that the parrot was previously the pet of a bartender and was liable to say anything, even use profanity. Nevertheless, the woman purchased the bird with the hopes of teaching it to use acceptable language. Everything went well for nearly a month. But one day, she forgot to feed her pet. When she walked into her house, the bird cursed at her. She grabbed it and said, "I'll teach you never to use those words again." She put the parrot in her freezer to punish it. A few minutes later, she removed the bird and asked, "Have you learned your lesson?" The bird shivered and replied, "Yes, ma'am." She asked, "Are you going to use those words again?" The parrot shook his head and said, "No, ma'am." A year went by without further incident. Then one day, the woman forgot to feed her parrot again. When she returned home, the parrot was cursing up a storm. She grabbed her feathered friend by the neck and put it back in the freezer. When she finally took him out, he said, "I thought I'd had a filthy mouth until I listened to that turkey in the icebox." I find it difficult to believe that anyone, for example, the turkey, has positively influenced another person by using profanity. But I know of many instances where friendships were disrupted, sales were lost, and opportunities went missing because of the slip of a tongue. Profanity is the use of strong words by weak people. You'd better watch your language because you never know who's watching yours. Let's get our affirmation out. The affirmation says, "I am too sharp and articulate to express myself profanely." I am too sharp and articulate to express myself profanely. Well, so I don't know, y'all, because every now and then I cut one loose. So I get it because it should not be a habit. Let's see who do we have in. It's Brenda Davis says, good evening, everyone. Big Mike says God is in the business. And he says Brad Wheeler. Mike Arnold says Brad Wheeler. All right. So I was talking about you guys. I said I know they better not request or suggest the show and not show up at the show. Because I said I might have to say a few choice words to y'all. So thank y'all for rocking in. Thank y'all for rocking in. Not going to keep you long because I'll be honest with you, I almost canceled it. I was on that couch getting the little Z's in that I needed, but I tell you, it wasn't long, but I feel a lot better. So let's break this one down. Watch your language, y'all. I'm gonna say this. I get it. Cursing, profane language is not the answer. But sometimes, yeah, I'm gonna say it. Some of y'all might not agree. You have to speak the language of the people that you're speaking to, right? You have to say what they understand, right? They may not understand the sometimes. It should not be our go-to language for sure. But sometimes people hear things differently when you say it differently. Sometimes some people use food. Some people like spicy food. Some people like mild wings, hot wings, right? So I'm going to say again, I think we all know the two languages, English and profanity, it says. I also think there's sometimes that you have to say things in a way to get people's attention and then leave it there. You don't have to use a language that becomes your language, if that makes sense. But sometimes you have to speak a language for a person or for a people to understand that you mean business. if that's a better way to say it. I almost said Brandon Mike. I meant to say Mike, calling you Brandon. Um, Also, this part where it says, but I know of many instances where friendships were disrupted, sales were lost, and opportunities were missed because of the slip of a tongue. Profanity is the use of strong words by weak people, right? I don't take profanity as being strong words, right? I more so see them depending on, again, what you say, how you say it, who you're saying it to, and why and when, right? As in any words. But I won't say that profanity is strong words, right? I would not compare them to what I see to be strong words, right? Um, and I'll say it has made me think, um, I don't know, a little bit about the profanity, right? I don't know, Mike, Brenda, Miss Brenda, do y'all use these words? Are you forever without them? Are you watching your language? Do you need to? For the most part, I don't. But um, Ms. Brenda says cursing is the primary language for some people. When you talk nice to them, they act like they don't get it. But when you speak their primary language, and that's what I mean, they are astonished that you said what you said, but they get it then. And most times they get it then because they know, hey, if you've taken it to this level, then we must be on a different level in this conversation, and maybe I should listen. And then maybe they don't. But at that point, I'm going to say it really doesn't matter. So this one, as long as you are making sure, maybe don't matter is a strong word. No, I guess I'm gonna have to leave it because I can't find another appropriate one, because it becomes about making sure that people understand what you're saying in the way that you need them to understand it. And sometimes, in order to get that, you have to speak, like Miss Brenda says, their language, right? And they understand, particularly or especially when it's not of a language that you typically speak. So it like wakes them up. So this is an easy one, a light one. The slip of a tongue could be in a different way as well. You could speak your English and say it in a firm way, right? You can do that. Profanity is the use of strong words by weak people. I don't think that people whose language is that their primary language, yes. Because then I think you're caught up in trying to express yourself, but you don't have the words, right? You've not stepped out of that zone of where you are, where all you know is profanity, right? She says, Miss Brenda says, it reminds me of the Bernie Mac show MF sketch he did in the Kings of Comedy. The MF used to be my dad's word. I mean, it wasn't in a bad way. It was just kind of his word for everybody. I mean, everybody. Now I don't hear him say it so much, but it used to just be his thing. And he meant really nothing by it, right? So again, it just depends. I feel like we should always watch our language, or watch our if you speak Spanish, speak Spanish. I'll say that, right? Speak what you know, but always be willing to learn the language of another person so that you'll know how to respond, right? Because you can't respond to a person whose first language is profanity, right? You can't come to them with this smooth talk. You gotta meet them where they are and let them know, hey bro, hey sis, you ain't the only one that can show up in this way and mean what they say, right? And be ready to take it on if that's what needs to be. So sometimes it's necessary. I'm going to say that. I get it. I get it. I get it. But y'all, sometimes some people don't understand English, right? And if you don't make sure that they understand you, they will walk all over you. And that's whether you're using profanity or not. right? So I'll say, watch your language, yes, but speak your language and make sure people know what your language is so that when and if you're out of order, maybe they'll say, you know what? Okay, I need to check myself because Tammy's taking this to a level that she doesn't really ever go to, right? Miss Brenda says it's really discouraging when you hear grown women curse out their 2 year olds and wonder why, yeah, wonder later or where they get it from. Exactly. Exactly. Now when we talking about the babies, it's just unacceptable. It really, really is. I was gonna share Zolly. I shared this with Mike earlier. I had Zolly today, so I have the privilege of so Zolly, we homeschool her, and so I have the privilege of teaching her math. And so I picked her up today. We went to the library, and she was just not herself. She was just kind of all over the place, whiny, just whatever, right? And so it ended up being she didn't feel good. And I could have responded to that, try to just snap her into whatever. But I realized, and she said, Grandma, I don't feel good. She told me while we were there. And so we got through, we made it through and stopped a little bit early. But as I stopped and got her some medicine, and as I got her home, I just looked back at her and I said, Dolly, I touched her little leg. I said, Dolly, I really enjoy, because typically we'll do it in the house. We don't, that's the first time she and I have gone to the library. We usually do it at home. And so I said, I really enjoyed, getting out and going to the library with you today. And her response was, Grandma, I know I was grouchy. She says, Grandma, I'm sorry. I know I was grumpy. She said, grumpy today, but I just didn't feel good. So y'all, and I just melted. And again, I thought, wow, what if we as adults could say that? I just wasn't myself today. I'm sorry. I know I wasn't the best, right? And so it took me back to the time. I know Miss Brenda, you guys have heard the story about when she said, Grandma, what about me? When I was helping her brother Tupac with their new cars, just because I thought she had it. And she said, Grandma, in tears, what about me? So with the babies, Miss Brenda, I'm there with you. We have to speak their language. We have to learn the language that empowers them, that encourages them, right? So I totally, totally, totally get that. Um, that's all I have on this one, because this one doesn't it's not one of those I wills. It does say I'm too sharp, right, and articulate to express myself profanely. Well, sometimes I'm too sharp and articulate not to, right? And I know how to say it in such a way that you get it, and you come clean or you stay away stank. Period. Period. Some people need it in order to be awakened, right? Just a reminder, Miss Brenda says, that children have feelings too, and they need to be heard. Miss Brenda, my thing for kids was, kids are people too. The kids are people too. And what does that mean? Just how we have needs, they have needs, right? Right. I had a conversation with a lady today at the library that I met there, and she was sharing with me about her son is not as social as the other children. And I said, well, he's not the other children. He's not them. He's him. And I said, if an adult has the right to, as an adult, to choose to be sociable or not, then why can't this young kid um, have the choice now, right? And he literally loves to read. She said he will just sit and read all day. He loves reading, and he shared it with me. He says, I have a crate of books. I said, what's your favorite? He said, I read so many I don't know. So why snatch that out of him, right? And so if you take this to kids, we'll be on here another hour. But it ended up, she said, I really thank you, because I wanted her to just see he's not them. And he will ease into people that as he did, he and I ended up having a great conversation. I may help him with some math later, but he wasn't shy. He was at first, But I met him where he was, right? I just met him there. I did not force myself on him, right? But I gave him the time to feel comfortable with me. I asked him about the things that he liked, which is books, reading, right? And so then he started to feel a little comfortable and he opened up. And he has the right to do that. He has the right to do that even as a child. So that's all I have for you all today. Watch your language, but know what to say when you need to say it, to who you need to say it, and how you need to say it to. Miss Brenda and Mike, I think Mike might have jumped off. Miss Brenda, I see you are still here with me. Thank you for that. So we're now caught up. We'll be back. I will be back on in the morning at 7 o'clock. I got that show already set up and ready to go. So, Miss Brenda, thank you for rocking with me. Let's feed the ducks on out of here. Let's get them out. I don't know if you were here to get them in, so let's get them out.